iconic American brand decides it's done with America? It took less than 60 seconds, and for Coca-Cola's CEO, James Quincey.
What about the consumer? Because we heard from other staples so far this quarter, this season, Procter & Gamble, your competitor Pepsi, they cited uncertainty with the consumer and how that's led to trade downs and different decisions. Are you seeing that?
Certainly, we're seeing some disruption for consumers around the world. I think it's very important to recognize that some of the need for affordability didn't just start in 2025. Inflation was a factor for the last few years, and that lower income segment of the population in many markets has been looking for affordability for a while.
That wasn't just a headline, it was an emergency. Because when aluminum costs go up, the cost of every Coke can in America goes with it. And now, one of the most powerful corporations in U.S. history may be packing its bags. The tariff war collides with the red can aluminum, the metal nobody thinks about, until they crack open a soda.
Main story is moderating inflation, coming into the landing zone, back to the classic story of earning the right for pricing.
There has been this big story that's blown up between your competitor Pepsi and Carrefour, where they said, forget it, we're not going to put any Pepsi products on our shelves anymore because we don't like the price hikes that have come through. What do you deal with suppliers? Have you had any of those same kind of pushbacks or issues?
Suppliers, we have a very long-standing approach, which is to go for very long-term relationships. So we given our size, we like to get long-term security of supply. That's our number one problem, is getting enough. We get long-term pricing agreements, and then we layer on hedging. So we very much smooth out the cycle. So we don't tend to go up very quickly, and we don't tend to crash back.
Coca-Cola had weathered storms before, wars, boycotts, sugar shortages, but this was a direct strike to its core. Under Trump's second term, the 25% aluminum tariff had already shaken the industry. Coca-Cola had managed, barely, by cutting packaging costs and slightly raising prices. But now, that tariff had just doubled, 50%. Suddenly, every single can of Coke would cost an extra 3 to 4 cents to produce. That may not sound like much until you multiply it by 30 billion cans per year. That's over $1 billion in new, unplanned costs. And there was no easy way out. No way to escape the costs. Could they switch suppliers? Not really. Coca-Cola's aluminum comes from Canada, Brazil, the Middle East, even Mexico, all now tariffed. Could they buy from U.S. smelters? Sure, if the U.S. produced enough, but it doesn't. Not even close. America's aluminum production has declined for over a decade. Environmental regulations, labor costs, and foreign competition forced domestic plants to shut down or move abroad. So Coca-Cola was stuck. Either raise prices and alienate customers, or eat the cost and hemorrhage profits. And then came the bigger question: should Coca-Cola leave the United States entirely? The internal crisis at Coca-Cola. Inside Coca-Cola headquarters, boardroom tensions escalated. One group of executives said, raise prices now. Another said, wait, let Pepsi go first. Let them take the heat. Meanwhile, every department was ordered to cut costs. Marketing slashed, sponsorships paused, R&D frozen, hiring halted. The company's iconic can was now the center of a corporate survival crisis. And even worse, there's no replacement. Plastic bottles? Bad optics. Coca-Cola's spent years promoting sustainability. Glass? Too fragile and expensive to ship. There is no mass-market alternative to the aluminum can. And building more U.S. aluminum capacity? That takes years. Groundbreaking today wouldn't yield new aluminum until 2028. So the conversations turned serious. The unthinkable plan, relocation. Behind closed doors, Coca-Cola began exploring something unimaginable, leaving America. Early reports suggest they're eyeing Europe, Germany, Switzerland, the Netherlands. Why? Because those countries offer reliable logistics, favorable trade deals, political and economic stability. Some insiders even whispered about Singapore or the UAE. It wouldn't be just a tax play, it would be a survival move. But make no mistake, This wouldn't just be a relocation, it would be a rupture. Coca-Cola isn't just headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. It was born there. It fueled U.S. soldiers in World War II. The domino effect, the consequences? Massive. Tens of thousands of U.S. workers could be affected. Distributors, suppliers, advertising agencies, universities, researchers, everyone connected to the Coke economy. Entire communities depend on Coca-Cola bottling plants. Its partnerships with colleges could vanish. Even its research centers, key to food science and sustainability, might be gone. And then there's the branding risk. Coca-Cola's logo is red, white, and very American. If it becomes an international company based in Europe or the Middle East, does it lose its cultural power? Would U.S. consumers turn on it? Would patriotic buyers start reaching for Pepsi instead? Markets shake. Consumers wake up. In grocery stores, changes are already underway. Promotions on 12-packs are shrinking, bulk discounts fading, prices quietly climbing, and Coca-Cola hasn't even pulled the trigger on full price hikes yet. Behind the scenes, executives say they're absorbing losses for now, but the clock is ticking. The company can't hold the line forever. If no tariff relief comes soon, those cost increases will hit shelves hard. And when that happens, shoppers will feel it. They'll ask questions, and eventually, they'll start pointing fingers. The bigger picture. This isn't just about one soda company, it's about what kind of economy the United States is becoming. A country where domestic supply can't meet domestic demand. A country where tariffs increase faster than capacity. A country that accidentally prices its own icons out of the market. Supporters of Trump's tariffs argue this pain is necessary, that it's the price of restoring American industry. But critics say it's already too late, that the U.S. aluminum industry can't ramp up fast enough to handle the demand. Meanwhile, Coca-Cola is stuck. Either stay and bleed or leave and survive. Is this the end of American Coke? If Coca-Cola relocates, it'll be a message heard worldwide. Even the most loyal American companies will walk if pushed far enough. It would challenge ideas of corporate patriotism. It would ignite debates on trade, jobs, and loyalty, and it would open the floodgates for other multinationals to follow. Because if the cost of doing business in America outweighs the benefits, why stay? And perhaps most ironically, a tariff designed to protect American jobs may be what ends up killing one of the most American products ever made. Not because of politics, not because of ideology, but because of simple, brutal economics. As Coca-Cola prepares for its next chapter, one thing is clear. This isn't just a corporate story, it's a wake-up call about trade, about economic nationalism, and about what happens when even your icons start to look elsewhere. The red can isn't just under pressure, it's on the edge of disappearing from the American dream entirely. So we ask you, would you still drink Coke if it wasn't American anymore? If this story surprised you, hit like, tap subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss what happens next.